College. Take from the top.
That's alright.
Hello, I'm Kaylee Bartlett here in the Solano College TV studio. Today I'm joined with Keith, Chase, and Anissa, and in today's podcast we are talking unsolved mysteries. Now, starting us off strong, we have the coverage of Eliza Lamb. Anissa, tell us what you know about that.
So Eliza Lamb is a 21-year-old college student. She was from she's Canadian, and she in 2013 she disappeared, and she was at the Cecil Hotel, and Cecil Hotel after disappearance. We have to talk about the Cecil Hotel a little bit because there is a lot of speculation about the hotel. So it was built in 1924, and it was really popular and stuff, and then it started all of a sudden become riddled with murders, suicides, 16 suicides, murders, and paranormal activity.
Okay.
There were two famous serial killers who were in the Cecil Hotel. Richard Ramirez, the Night Stalker, in 1985, and then Jack, the Austrian Strangler, in 1991.
Oh my goodness.
And so she decided to go on this trip, starting in San Diego, and then Los Angeles, then San Francisco. She started in Los Angeles, she went to the Cecil Hotel, and mind you the fact, Cecil Hotel is located in Skid Row, so it's already
It's in the trenches.
It's really, really bad area, but it's really cheap to go in the hotel, like really cheap for travelers, so of course, if you're a college student, you would want to go. She was allowed to go on this solo trip by her parents if she was calling every day and just making sure she was just keeping up with her daily things she needs to do.
Yeah.
And it was stated that her parents on the day of she disappeared, so the last day she was found on January 31st. She didn't call her parents, so they called the police, and called the police about her disappearance. And I'm so sorry. They decided to call her on her disappearance. Then the police started to say, okay, she's disappeared because it is in Skid Row.
Yeah, they marked her as missing.
And it was really weird. So
basically, they went up to her hotel room. There were a bunch of papers scattered on the floor, but it didn't seem like there was a struggle or anything. All her stuff was still there. So clearly she didn't just move on. So they searched every unoccupied hotel room. They checked the roof. They checked all the back area, the parking lot, and they didn't find anything.
So on the day of, she was supposed to check out, and then the investigation. And a few days after, her parents went on and police made a press conference. They're talking about there was a disappearance, and they want her to come back safely. They don't know what's going on, and they'll fill up everyone else to know more. And you can see her parents in the background. They were really sad. You can tell they were sad and sullen. Of course, their daughter just disappeared. Is disappearing in a foreign country. They don't know what's going to happen to her, what's happening, if something is happening, and it was just a very scary time with them.
Yeah.
And the police investigated again the hotel room. Nothing was found.
Does somebody want to talk about the footage that the police found of the elevator with her in it?
The footage where she clicked all of the buttons, and then do you guys know? I know that you were talking about how it was kind of like that Korean folklore, but does anyone have any insight to why she did that? Where did she end up after that? Just on one of the floors, stumbling out the hallways again?
I believe we'll get to that.
Okay.
Sorry.
No, let me
it
wrap
was
it up.
she was she was going like this, all of the buttons, and I want to talk about the video because it's really creepy.
Yeah.
Not gonna lie, it's she's going with this all over the button. She's looking around the hallways, and she's jumping in from the elevator then out into the hallway.
Yeah.
And it was just this was like someone was chasing her.
Yeah.
Wait, so since she was pressing all the buttons, did you think she was getting chased, or was it like a mental episode she was going through?
I feel like it could be both because she is diagnosed with bipolar disorder, so it could be a mania disorder, she was experiencing.
Yeah, manic episode.
But then we don't know what was going on.
There are a lot of theories that it could have been somebody who worked at the hotel, and that would make it obvious as when you look at the video footage, the timestamp of it, it looks like the footage was cutting around, time was being skipped, the timestamp was blurred at some points. So maybe like a cameraman edited it or something.
But that's the thing, though. Who, like, allegedly actually, like, rigged the footage of the elevator? Was it, like, the police? Or was it maybe the hotel staff workers?
It had to be, if it did happen, it had to be staff first because we got the police got the video after staff gave it to them, and then we got it after, like, public. So it had to be staff or someone in between beforehand. Police got it.
That makes sense.
But before we dive into direct motives themselves, do you want to tell us what happened after the elevator scene?
Okay, there was a maintenance worker. He saw that this is the last notice seen of her. He saw her in an area that she was not supposed to be at by guests, and he told her to leave, and he saw her walking back to the elevator. So then on February 19th, almost 3 weeks after her disappearance, guests started complaining about foul taste in the water pressure, discoloration in the water. So then they sent a maintenance worker up there on the water tanks to go check.
And how long was this complaint about the water tank
I believe for like almost 2 weeks or so, because
it was 19 days.
19 days, so for 19 days.
So then what was wrong with the water?
Well, once the maintenance worker went up there and checked, they found Eliza's body in the water, face down, and she was decomposing really badly in the water.
It was clear she had been there since the day that she had disappeared.
Yikes. That's rough.
Yeah. So her cause of death was initially ruled as a drowning. When they did the autopsy and the toxicology report, her body looked like there hadn't been a struggle, and in her system, but there were no drugs or alcohol in her system. The only thing in her system was prescription drugs that were assigned to her.
And I feel like it was very weird because, like, why would you not take your medicine if you're in a foreign country? But then also, it's just like how the video was. It seemed like if someone was luring her. Like there was like a strange. If you've ever seen it, it seemed like it was like something was luring her to the rooftop.
So in like the most like recent like security footage of her, she was going towards the like. Was there like in the footage like signs indicate that like that's where she was heading up? Because I feel like in the video footage I've seen it was very like sporadic. She didn't really have like a set goal.
It just felt like she was like it felt like someone was calling her.
Yeah.
Like if you see her, like she was like following someone. So it was very.
But wait, that's the thing though. When she was pressing all the buttons, it looks like she didn't really. It really matter where she wanted to go. She just wanted to go to some random floor.
Also, water towers are like huge. Could she herself even get in that? And then how did she like lift it? Like, I'm a little confused on like the specificities of it. Like, how did she end up in there? Was there no security footage of her going out on the roof? Like, normally most exits have like a security camera nearby. Was there not like that footage of her like going through the exit roof door?
Yeah, I have a little bit of insight and kind of more of a reason why people think it was somebody who worked at the hotel. There was no other footage of her in the hotel at all. There was only the elevator footage, and there was also only 2 ways to access the roof. One was through escape stairs that she must have climbed up, or the other is through the main entrance to the roof, which has an alarm on it. So if she did go that way, somebody must have turned the alarm off and then went out there after her. And then the water tower, it's basically, I think, two or four water towers on this gigantic platform. And there were ladders, you could easily climb up to it. There is some debate whether she could have opened it or not. Does anybody else want to talk about that?
Well, I have a theory that the gate for the water tower door was heavy, so she wasn't probably able to open it by herself. But it sounds like a myth to me.
I think that's a good theory. Great gaming theory. I think that that was what initially prompted me. I was like, no way, like she opened that by herself, and was just like, I'm just gonna take a little nap here. Like I'm just gonna chill in here for a little. I think that was definitely something else pushing her in that direction.
But like if water tank, like Keith mentioned to me earlier, like the water's here and the tank's right here. And if it was at night, it was probably pitch black down there.
Yeah.
And so that's probably that if she did like get in there, that's why people think her clothes were off. That she like was drowning and she was being weighed down by them, so she took them off to try and get out, which would like help the idea that she didn't want to be in there. She was pushed in or kept there by somebody. There's also some debate. The maintenance worker who found her can't remember if the hatch was open or closed. If it was closed, that's probably like you think somebody put her in there and then closed it.
Yeah.
Wait, so I don't know if I missed this. She was like naked in there?
Yeah, she was naked.
But like her clothes were still in the water
in the
tower.
tank.
Yeah, it was in the water.
Oh wow, that's trippy.
But that must have been so horrifying last moments.
No, that makes me feel like that's tragic. Yeah,
very
that's
tragic.
terrifying.
It's very sad, and
Yeah.
it's just like I understand, like, but I wonder, like, I still wonder now, like, what happened, like.
And there's so many conspiracy theories out there, and I feel like we'll dive into that in a second. The stuff that people have came up with to like explain that is so like out of whack. Not only is there all the supernatural, components of it. A lot of people say it was like a ghost or like she was trying to enter like another dimension. But yeah, there's definitely so many different branches of theories on not only the intention behind her death, but then like how it happened, the execution.
Do we want to talk about like what we each think happened?
Yeah, I think we can.
So I don't personally myself believe this, but it's on the front of my head. So there was the theory where I even learned about this case was the Selena Gomez theory. And there's this thing where Selena Gomez, her like uncle owns the hotel or something, and like there was all these deaths and suicides, so they like thought the hotel was like a organ harvesting facility. That's why a lot of people think that she died, because like they wanted to harvest her organs or whatever. It's just a stupid far-fetched theory. A lot of people said that when Selena Gomez needed that like liver transplant or whatever, that her uncle used her as the sacrifice and then used her liver for Selena Gomez. Which like that's so far-fetched, but like that is what introduced me to this mystery to begin with, is the fact that this theory got so blown up when it was so out of hand.
One theory I have is that people thought she was recruited by a prostitution ring because it is in Skid Row.
Yeah.
Very scared. There was also a lot of rings in the hotel itself of drugs, trafficking, and prostitution. And a lot of people coming out of jail who don't want to be seen or in there, so they thought she might have got kidnapped or something worse happened to her, the fate before they found her body.
Yeah.
Well, I had a theory that she was just being chased by some other group of people. And
Just strangers?
Yeah, just strangers. They're chasing after her in the hotel. And I think that you couldn't really see them in the footage because beforehand the footage is probably rigged to kind of splice the timing footage to like get rid of it. That's why it was.
Do you think it was in that scenario that it was probably somebody who worked at the hotel?
Most definitely.
Maybe even like the maintenance worker who discovered her.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're probably with.
I think the hotel is definitely super suspicious about how they handled it, and I'm not sure if the hotel or the police are the ones who messed with the footage, but I think definitely how like the maintenance workers' replies and how the staff went. I think things are definitely like fishy. I don't think the hotel is like innocent in this per se.
Yeah. So I talk about the main theory. This is the most commonly accepted theory. That when they did the toxicology report, even though it was only her own prescription drugs, she wasn't taking some of the ones that she was supposed to, and because she has bipolar disorder, she probably had a manic episode, and then because manic episodes are associated with like super erratic behavior and delusions, maybe she did think somebody was chasing her, and then she thought she would hide in the water tower and then just couldn't get out.
I believe that could be a really good theory of what happened because she does have that mental illness.
No, she definitely, yeah. No, either way, it is definitely a tragic case, and that is the thing about unsolved mysteries, is there's so many different routes to it, there's so many different possible endings, and yeah, there's just no really good proof that leads us in that right direction. But speaking of unsolved mysteries that like nobody has had any idea on where to go with it, the Zodiac Killer. That is probably one of America's #1 mysteries. I feel like it's the one of the most popular, definitely one of the most widely discussed. I think Keith, you're really knowledgeable on that. You want to go ahead and give us some background information?
All right. So the Zodiac Killer was an unidentified serial killer who was active between 1968 and 1969. He killed at least 5 people and injured 2 others. Although in a report, I think you guys know this, in his letters he claimed to have killed a lot more people than has actually been acclaimed to him.
I believe it was claimed that he killed 37 people.
37. Okay. So he's super infamous, not only because he was never caught, but because he acted in a very strange way. He was famous because he sent ciphers and letters to the police, radio stations, things like that. And that was kind of unheard of at the time for a serial killer to do.
He was like playing games almost.
Yeah.
Like he was taunting them because he's...
Yeah, there's just such a weird way to go about it. And I think he definitely wanted a name for himself. I think he wanted to be known. Like, that's such, he could have just killed people, and obviously he had the technology to get away with it at the time. I think he definitely wanted to have fun with it and had his own sort of sick and twisted way of like, ha ha ha, you guys can't catch me.
So yeah, you're saying it was from fun, but you think it was also part of like an obsession of his? Or like maybe like a mental disorder?
I think definitely anybody who does some stuff like that has got to be a little mentally screwed.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't think I know what his obsession would be on if it was driven by obsession, because I feel like all his victims had such diversity. Like there wasn't really a pattern in like why he did things or like the things he did. It was also sporadic and like for entertainment purposes almost for him.
In his cipher, his original ciphers, the first 2, he does talk about some of the reasons why. He initially wrote, "I like killing people because it's so much fun." And then in his second letter, he goes on to explain kind of why. He basically believes that everybody he kills will be his slaves when he goes to heaven.
Sorry, that let me flabbergasted.
Yeah, no, I think
like,
that shocked everybody a little bit. Like,
Yeah.
Like I said, a little mentally screwed.
Yeah.
That definitely goes.
This cipher, the one where he says that, actually wasn't solved until 2020. Out of his 4 ciphers, only 2 have been solved, and that one was solved very recently.
Wow.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
No, this has been going on for so long. Like I said, I feel like this is one of America's like biggest, most widely known thing, but yet we have so little information on who he actually is or.
But since that one of the ciphers has actually been found in 2020, do you think with today's technology, you think it would be slightly easier to actually uncover this?
Oh, for sure.
Yeah, most definitely. We have DNA and fingerprints, but they were not able to test at the time. And I believe whoever he is, he never like had them done because we never found anybody who was linked to that DNA or fingerprint.
Well, talking about whoever was like pertained to him, is there any suspects that you really focus on? That
Yeah.
really.
There is one major suspect, although he was never confirmed. I think to do that, we should talk a little bit more about what he did first, and then we'll go on to why we think he did it. So I can talk about the first 2 killings. The first one was in Benicia. It was on Lake Herman Road. They didn't really get much evidence from that because both of the victims had passed away and nothing was found. But in his second killing in Vallejo, he shot this young couple and one of them survived. So he went on to give a report, and they drew that famous photo of him. And they gave an appearance. He weighed about like 200 pounds. He was pretty fit. He was around 5'10". He was a white man, and he wore glasses.
But to go on his appearance, didn't he wear like a bag or like a mask?
Yeah, I believe in his third killing, it is one of the stranger ones. He wears a hood, a black hood with the Zodiac symbol on it, and he claims that he is an escaped convict who just killed a guard, and he goes after another young couple, and this is in I believe Lake Berryessa. he comes up to them and basically goes, yeah, I'm an escaped convict, give me your keys, I'm gonna take your car and lock you up.
Well, do you think he's just saying all those like threats and stuff, like how he killed 37 people allegedly, just to like intimidate the whoever is investigating on this case?
I think he definitely wanted to hold some power over the police force. I think he definitely thought that he was like above them in like the sense that like he knew he was gonna get away with it. So I think everything he did was kind of like a taunt of power. Didn't they end up arresting somebody though? It didn't like turn out to be him, but didn't they like try to charge somebody?
It might have been Alan.
I was gonna say, I
that's
feel
like the main guy.
Yeah, there was like that. I just saw a TikTok about it like 30 minutes before this podcast. But I could have sworn they like the alleged Zodiac killer lived on the same street, and they tried to arrest like a black guy and say that was the Zodiac killer, but the cops were just like racist and like totally misinformed. So they ended up letting him off like a few weeks later. Like, oh no, he's actually completely innocent.
One fact I found was really interesting that Keith told me that like then one night I think he killed a couple. No.
It was his final attack. That was the cab driver.
Okay, his final attack, not a couple. Sorry.
Mm-hmm.
He came up, like police stopped him, and he was covered in blood, but they didn't look at his clothing or anything, and they just talked to him and they let him go. And once I heard that, I was like,
yeah,
you didn't look at him, like you
Yeah.
talked to him, and I believe you said like he talked to them in a letter too, saying like you talked to me and you didn't even realize it was me.
Mm-hmm. So basically that case, it was super late at night, it was super hard to see, and as he killed the cab driver, a couple of teenagers saw that he did, and then when they reported to the police, they believed that he was a black man, so when they stopped him, they were looking for a black man, they weren't looking for a white man, so they just let him go.
Crazy.
And again, it comes back to the racist aspect when they and it was just like,
I think the cops, honestly, and like who am I to say what the cops were thinking, but from what I see on the outside perspective, they weren't really trying. Mm-hmm. Like, I don't think there was really much of a drive to find out who the Zodiac killer was and like capture him and like stop I think for the most, like the police department was very relaxed about the Zodiac killer.
I have something for that. When he sent the ciphers, he requested that they be put on the newspaper, else he would kill more people, so they did. And it wasn't even the police that solved the ciphers. It was the first cipher, it was uncovered by a local high school teacher and his wife who decoded it.
Yeah. And then in 2020, it was just like another person.
It was just a code breaker group of teenagers.
See, like I feel like the law enforcement, if they really wanted to solve this with all the evidence they have and everything, like they know so much more information than we do. I think if they truly wanted to solve this case would have been solved.
I feel like also like it could have been solved too, but it's really bizarre how it's really local to this area. All these killings, it just makes more of a fear-driven being like if it was now present, it could have been any one of us. And just imagining the fear people had back in the day of like what's he going to do? He's targeting couples. Like that must have been really scary of living in Cordelia or Fairfield and just having it in Benicia, just a couple miles, but like a few minutes up the road.
Yeah.
He could have come here and done something too.
Yeah. No, still to this day, like never caught. That's horrifying. I imagine like when the movie and him came out in like 2007, that he was just like in the theaters chilling with everybody watching the movie alongside everybody. Like the movie, like it's like he was never caught. So he's just like out there. I mean, maybe not anymore, obviously, but like he's just out there like living life, and like it's the guy we grocery shop to every day, and there's nothing anybody could do.
That must be scary. Like if that was your family member, would you want to know? Like if that was your uncle, your grandfather.
Would I want to know? Probably, yeah. I'd probably want to be a little safer
you
around
wouldn't be
that guy.
about
I'd probably carry scissors in my pocket if that was just my grandpa.
Would you want to know if that was your spouse?
Oh my god,
Someone you
yes.
raised kids with or something? I would want to know, but then also I probably wouldn't, because that fear of knowing what they could do.
Mm-hmm. Do we want to talk about who we think it was?
Yeah.
The most likely suspects?
What are you thinking, Keith?
We can talk about Richard Lee Allen. I think you had some information on this as well. He's basically the most likely suspect. He had so much evidence against him that it's almost like astronomical that he wasn't charged. But his fingerprints did not match, and also like any DNA evidence wasn't matched to him.
Yeah.
Yeah, but then again, there's just really a suspicious description about this guy. Like how he's a knife enthusiast. He carried a 22 caliber weapon, and not only that, he got arrested for like child molestation. And during that time period of him being in jail, all the murders have been stopped in that area, which is the Bay Area of San Francisco. But when he got out, the killings started happening again. So.
There was also the fact that he owned a Zodiac brand watch. He used the same typewriter that the letters that had sent to the police used. He misspelled some of the same words that the Zodiac did in his letters quite commonly. Like in one of his ciphers, he wrote Christmas with 2 S's, and Arthur commonly did that.
There's nobody else I've ever met that spells Christmas with 2
No.
S's. Like, I feel like that, like, it was literally right in front of their face, and they're just like, nah.
But then, like, fingerprints and blood
Yeah.
didn't match up, so of course they couldn't arrest him, even though everything else lined it up perfectly.
I don't know, but they, like, arrested, like, the other guy with little to no evidence because he was black. So, like, I do get that point, but then there's this huge other point where, like, the police just simply, like, they low-key didn't want to find him.
But do you think if they actually did try their hardest, you think that they would have at least find out who he was?
I think we'd know a lot more than we do today. I think at least today, in this current point of time, we'd know. I think it's ridiculous we don't know for sure.
I think if it happened today, he would have been caught really easily.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
But then I feel like if it was still back then, we probably would have gotten much more closer. Like you said, much more closer to finding him. But it's really sad that we didn't. If it was today, maybe. Because then again, some law enforcements don't really care unless something else.
At least
Things
now we
happening.
would have
The
pretty much
technology.
everybody is fingerprinted now. I think it would be a lot easier to find DNA.
Yeah. Crazy. So do we have any finishing notes on the Zodiac Killer? Any follow-up thoughts, conspiracies?
We're good.
All right, so moving on to our third segment, what I think, this is the mystery I chose, what I think to be the biggest of them all is the Sauter children disappearance. Now, this case, oh wait, Chase, would you like to introduce it? I know you know a little more on this backstory.
In Fayetteville of West Virginia, 1995, during Christmas Eve, 5 children of the Sauter family have vanished without a trace in their house during a house fire, with no remains ever being found. But then again, something special about this case is that days before, they actually gotten threats of that their disappearance was actually going to be threatened to them. But to give you guys a background on the case, the 2 parents of the Sauter family is Jenny and George Sauter. And during their many years of living in West Virginia, we've had about 10 kids in total. And all those years have been going pretty well, all up until 1995 of Christmas Eve, late at night, where a house fire actually began. And it was starting out quickly, so George actually went to go find the children, but he could only find at least 4 of the children, and the 5 others were missing. And Keith, I know you have a deep description about.
Yeah. So, pretty much, downstairs was Jenny and George and their youngest daughter. I think that was Sylvia, and then in like the main living room was another kid who was sleeping on the couch. And then upstairs there's 2 bedrooms. There's the 2 older brothers, and then there's all of the younger children who were sleeping in one room. Because it was Christmas, everybody was super up late. They just crashed wherever. But when the fire started, only the 2 oldest could get down before the stairs were engulfed in flames. So the 2 of them quickly got their 2 youngest and then the 2 older brothers, and then they went outside to try and find a way to get to the other ones because they couldn't get through the stairs.
I've heard a lot about this. So I heard that there was like a bunch of different like suspicious things in the house beforehand that led up to this. As you said, there was like that man who literally like warn them about the fire.
Oh, yeah,
There was the telephone line being cut. There was like a ladder outside who was always in the same position that like wasn't in that position. So this disappearance wasn't as simple as like, oh no, like there's a fire, like where'd the kids go? Like I feel like it like had some malicious intent behind it and definitely was planned.
Yeah, I can talk about the hours leading up to it.
Please do.
She had some suspicious occurrences. There was also the threats before that. So basically, the mom, Jenny, woke up 3 times that night. The first one, she heard her phone ringing. I think you misspoke earlier. It was 1945, so they had a landline. There were no cell phones. But so she went out, answered the call, and it was just a woman laughing for a strange amount of time. She asked who it was, and she said, "Oh, sorry, wrong number," and then put the phone down. And then she went back to sleep. The second time she woke up, she heard a very odd sound. She like heard something hit the roof and then it like slid off, but she like waited for it to happen again and it didn't, so she just went back to sleep. And then the third time she woke up and then the house was on fire. Does somebody else want to talk about the circumstances before that day?
Oh yeah, so they've gotten a threat from an insurance salesman on how his whole family was just getting a threat. But I couldn't really go into detail about that. Do you know about
So I'm not, correct me if I'm wrong, I'm not too informed on this, but I think the father had like a really big hate against Mussolini?
Yes.
Mussolini? Yes, and he was very open about that hate. He loved to march up and down the street like, oh, I hate this guy so much. And, if you know anything, Mussolini's not a guy you want to make enemies with. So there was definitely that conspiracy where he was just talking a little too much, a little too loud, and they got to him. I think that warning, they gave him like a warning or something. Mm-hmm. He proceeded anyways and messed around and found out.
But then again, why the whole family? Like, why are the kids getting random
That's how it
strays?
be sometimes.
Why not hurt the person you love most?
Right, exactly. That's how they get to you. Gotta slime some people out.
I can expand a little more. So basically, the town that they lived was like very, very Italian, and he like George was pretty much the only one in the town who disliked Mussolini. So many people just like didn't like him very much, and that insurance agent who threatened him, he came to George's house, and was basically like, I don't like when George denied he didn't want it, he was like, your house is gonna burn. He pointed at the fuse box like, this isn't safe, your kids are gonna die, and then he basically said, you're gonna pay for the dirty marks you made about Mussolini. Yikes. He's oddly suspicious.
Yeah,
That's very
that tells me
suspicious.
something
Not,
right there.
like,
Well, do you know who was part of that group of people that hated George and his family just because of his anti-Mussolini views?
There was also his former boss. Oddly enough, his former boss was also the co-signer on his house. Basically, a few days before his house burnt down, he secretly went behind George's back and increased the insurance on his house. He was also the one who sent that salesman. I mean, like,
that's really suspicious.
That's suspicious.
Yeah.
He got money because their house burned down.
did the Slaughter family got money too, or just
Yeah,
one
they
of
both
the-
did.
Okay.
I mean, yeah, but like half the family ended up passing,
Well,
so
yeah.
like I'd hope they got a little reconciliation. Yeah, no, I definitely think the whole thing screams like setup. I definitely think there's a lot of factors that contribute into it, and it could be the boss, it could be the entire town, it could be Mussolini and his group. But I definitely think labeling it as like, oh, it was a tragic house fire and the children were never found, like it's a lot more complex than the headlines make it out to be.
Like, I do know that they try to make it as like faulty wiring when it wasn't, because
Yeah.
like previously George the father said that they just had the house rewired and everything, like so everything was up to code, so like it could have been that.
Yeah.
When Jenny also went outside to answer the phone, the lights were on, and you can't have the lights on if the power was failing.
Exactly. And going back on how George is going to look for the ladder just to go climb up onto the second floor find one of the children, the ladder wasn't there. It was like 50 feet back from their house. So that's also another suspicion.
Now, can you talk a little bit more about just that event, the ladder, the car, and the phone line?
Oh, well, this truck, which is like a mining coal truck, he was planning to park it parallel to the house so he could climb onto the car, onto the second floor of the windows. Then again, pretty sure that the truck was actually rigged because the wires were actually cut.
That's crazy.
And to go on to the water bucket, I'm pretty sure that was just like some coincidence where it was just frozen just because it was late at night of Christmas Eve, so that can't really be prime evidence.
I don't know. I think the no remains of the children tells me a lot right there. And I heard that like all the firefighters were like volunteers or something. You guys hear about? So obviously they could have just been underqualified and like not know how to scour for remains properly. But I definitely think with all these like chains of coincidences, with the ladder not being there, the car being snipped, the phone lines being snipped, and no children's remains, it definitely feels like the children were almost like taken instead of like dying in that house. And there's been multiple reports I've heard that like there was a woman who like drunk in West Virginia who like confessed to be one of the kids, and there's been like multiple different like sightings of them, and I don't really know if I believe any of those are true, but I definitely don't think the kids like were left in that house.
Because like again, there was no remains, right?
Yeah.
And the firefighters, I didn't know that they were volunteers. Does anyone know if the fire was like really hot enough to burn any remains?
Well,
if there were.
It engulfed the entire bottom floor.
Oh.
I believe they contacted the coroner's office and they did confirm that it wouldn't have been possible for the bones to have turned to ash, but they could have been heavily destroyed. Maybe like, obviously the volunteer firefighters didn't have the experience to identify burnt human remains, so they could have been there, but like again, we'll never know.
I don't think they were there, especially like burning the bones and everything. Like you'd find something. I think they were definitely like suspiciously like just not there. Who knows where they were? Like I don't even have a conspiracy to like begin that trying to track thought. But
I believe Keith mentioned to me earlier about how some woman spotted them with two Italian men, that they were very mean to the children and they're aggressive towards her and the children.
Yeah, I believe that was just like the night after the fire. A local waitress saw them, and then they stayed at a hotel, allegedly, that they were with four Italian people who were quite mean.
Is there any other like conspiracy theories that anyone know about? Like,
there was definitely one that less of a conspiracy theory, but we don't know truly what happened. When I was recounting the night, the second time she woke up when she heard that bang on the roof, they suspected that maybe like somebody had thrown like a grenade or something, like they were starting a fire, and so they went to investigate, and they actually found the remains of something that looked like it had gasoline in it. It was like a ball made to set fires. And then later, a truck driver who was passing by confessed that he believed he saw somebody throwing stuff at the house that night.
Well, it's pretty suspicious if you ask me.
I know.
Yeah, like I feel like nobody here could argue that it wasn't fishy, to say the least. And nobody was ever charged with anything, right? Like nobody ever got in trouble. Yeah, that's definitely crazy to me. I think there was multiple people at play right there. I think that family probably made one too many enemies, and I don't know what happened to the children's disappearance themselves, but sign after sign, evidence after evidence that people were planning this out for them.
Does anybody want to talk about the fire department a little bit more?
Oh yeah, it took them 7 hours just to get to the house.
Crazy.
This is despite the fact they only lived 2 hours away. Or not 2 hours, 2 miles. 2 miles away from the fire department. It took them 7 hours to get there.
Coincidence? I think not.
Because like could have someone bribed them to be like, don't come right now, come a little bit later?
And even then, the firefighters that were there, like, at least, like, according to my sources, correct me if anybody knows I'm wrong, but they weren't, like, professional, like, really good, like, been working on the field for 20 years, but, like, a lot of them were, like, volunteers or, like, new, like, it's not like they sent, like, a good team of firefighters out. Like, it took them 7 hours to send their, like, lowest of the low men out.
It was a very small town, but reportedly, one of the kids ran to the neighbor, and then the neighbor went into town, found the fire chief, told him that the kids were still inside the house, and the fire chief said that he couldn't drive the truck, he had to wait for somebody more qualified.
You're the chief.
Yeah, he is the fire chief. I think a lot of people suspect that he just didn't care. Maybe he was paid off, maybe he was drunk or something.
Stinks to me, I don't know.
I don't know.
Sounds really bizarre, like, you're the head macho in charge, like, come on now.
Yeah, that's what got me, like, you're the chief. You need somebody more qualified? Like, I think you're the top of the line, buddy.
You're the last one.
Yeah, you're actually, like, top of the food chain. So, does anybody have any thoughts on where the kids are today? Did they make it? Did they leave the house?
But going back on like what you said there, on the kidnapping theory, even if they were kidnapped, why did you think they were kidnapped? You think they were trying to get something to exchange out of the family?
I feel like there's such a high market for, I think there's a million different reasons a kid could be kidnapped. There's so many,
kidnap them to sell them to somewhere, like.
Yeah, that's what I'm
peddler?
thinking.
If they were kidnapped, I don't think they remained alive all that long. I think we would have found some evidence somewhere. Oh, obviously, none of them were alive. We never found anything else ever.
And I believe after the fire burnt down the house, the parents never rebuilt on that land. They made a memorial for the children, even though there wasn't confirmed if they were dead or alive, never rebuilt, and always had the hope of their children are alive out there.
They kept those missing kid posters up for like 10 years.
Yeah, they only took it down after Jenny had died.
Yeah, that's crazy.
And that must have been really sad. If
Yeah.
you're a parent, a mother especially, and you just don't know where your children are.
I think there's just, like, even, like, 20 years after their deaths, like, the father would see photos of kids in other states and literally drive out to their house to ask their parents if that's his kid. I think they were just, like, just hoping that they would be, and it just never happened.
Yeah.
And I feel like that's tough for any parent, but even the siblings, that must be devastating. Like,
Yeah.
you couldn't save all of them, even though you saved the two. Like, just to see that happening and just to see it, and like no one in the town is helping at that moment.
And I feel like they were actively hindering because nobody really liked them.
Yeah. They're actively avoiding helping them.
I do have one more thing. The insurance, salesman who, threatened them was actually on the coroner's council, who helped decide that it was just faulty wiring and not something else.
That's crazy.
So he could have had something to do with it too.
It doesn't get more fishier than that, honestly. I think the underlying theme of all of these are the fact that, like, they are obviously all unsolved, and I think, like, that is the tragedy in itself, with Eliza Lamb not knowing, like, what happened to her. Was that her? Was that somebody else? The Zodiac killer, the victims never getting closure and him never getting locked away, and the Sauter children just not even knowing what happened to them. I think the, like, general tragedy is just the, like, unknown. The fact that, like, nobody ever gets closure on any of the circumstances, you know? It's all just, we just get to sit here and ponder, and there's no other evidence that could lead us to any other conclusion.
Exactly.
So crazy. You guys have anything else you'd like to add to the Sauter children's disappearance? Okay, then I think we're gonna wrap it up here. This was Kaylee Bartlett and the Solano Community College TV Center. I'm here with Keith, Chase, and Anissa, and thank you so much for watching. This was the Unsolved Mysteries podcast.